Hey there, reclusive research scientists. It's time for me to talk about another episode of a superhero animated series. Today, I'll be talking about an episode of Batman the Animated Series titled Time Out of Joint. If you haven't seen the episode, fret not, I'll be summing up the plot before I get into the review. And if you don't want spoilers, you should go watch the episode now before I start. Either way, you've been warned. At an auction for charity, Temple Fugit steals an antique clock, testing out what at first seems like teleporting technology to do so. We find out he's actually speeding up and slowing down time with a machine he stole from a scientist who he was pretending to be a butler for. Batman and Robin have to get creative to save Mayor Hill from Fugit, while the scientist decides the world isn't ready for his invention. Cue credits. Like most of the episodes in this series that bring back a villain we've seen before, this one goes the route of changing the villain's shtick, just because, presumably, audiences will get tired of the villain doing the same thing in each episode. Personally, I think Clock King is one of the few characters who could sustain multiple episodes with his initial shtick. The idea that he's smart enough to plan so far in advance and is able to foresee nearly every eventuality based on his observation of a schedule, that's scary in a way that few of Batman's other villains are. Sure, Joker is scary, but he'll just kill you. And yeah, Clock King will kill you too if you're Mayor Hill, but in this case, I don't think being killed is as scary as just how smart he is and what he is putting that intelligence towards. And if he was a good guy, I don't think that he would be any less scary. Then you would be wondering why he works for the good guys, and you'd be wondering when he's going to turn into a bad guy. But that being said, the people behind this show must have thought that his shtick from the first episode that he was in wasn't enough to sustain a second appearance, so we got something that, in my humble, doesn't really fit with Clock King at all. Sure, it has to do with time, and Clock King is all about time puns and stuff, what with his name being similar to the Latin phrase Tempus Fugit, but that would be like having Scarecrow surgically remove the part of your brain that produces fear. It's sort of adjacent to his theme, but it doesn't really seem like something that he would do. In fact, the episode has to really shoehorn a way for Fugit to get a hold of his time pauser thing. He is pretending to be a butler to a reclusive scientist. Just how in blazes did he procure that position? And the butler says he only trusted Clock King. So how many questions was that interview? Are you a villain? Nope. Okay, you're hired. I don't want to turn this review into a session of let's completely rewrite the episode, but wouldn't it have been much better to have Fugit have this machine, and after a couple of boo-boos where Batman and Robin fail to capture him, they do some research and find out there was a scientist talking about this kind of machine some years ago, and they go to his last known address, where they find he's been frozen in time for a few months, while Fugit's been going around stealing stuff, planning his revenge on Hill. Heck, if you think 5 months is way too long and that he would have already killed Hill by then, you're probably right. Let's say he stole the machine a week ago and put the scientist in suspended animation for that long. Basically, what I'm saying is, let's remove this frankly dumb subplot of him pretending to be a butler, as it really just raises more questions than it answers. And if you say, well, it's a kids show, kids won't be thinking about something like that, you might be right about some kids, but this show has earned a special place in the collective heart of most fans because it appeals to both children and older fans as well. So if your only defense for a dumb subplot is that half the audience won't care, that's not a very good defense. And I know I'm sounding like a broken record by now, but if Robin isn't going to actually serve a purpose, can we get rid of him? Please. I know way back at the beginning of this series, I was complaining that they had him in Christmas with the Joker, and then waited like 3 years to have him show up again. But by now, I'm wistful of the days when he didn't show up in every single episode, especially when he doesn't do anything. Seriously, go back and watch this episode, and the last two before this one, and tell me what Robin does, if anything. Here, by my count, all he does is provide death-worthy puns that make the 1960s live-action series look like high art. Okay, maybe not that bad, but for real, there is an actual character here, guys. I don't think over half of the episodes with Robin here have really explored that character, but it is there. Why is he here just to do more of what Batman already does? And remember a couple of episodes ago when I said that I feared we were getting to a point where this series wants to feature Robin in every single episode just cuz, even when he doesn't do anything? Well, I promise I did not know this was coming, but now apparently we've got a new opening to this series. I don't like it, mostly because it clashes with the opening that I identify as being this show from all the way back to when I was just 5 years old. I don't even remember this new theme song, and I don't really think it adds anything not already offered in the original opening, except that Robin is there swinging on ropes and stuff. I don't hate the character, really, but like I've said before, if someone is there and doesn't do anything in the story, they don't need to be in the story. And now I'm doubly sure I will be reiterating that in every review from now until I finish reviewing this series. Oh boy, it's going to be a long eternity, isn't it? Overall, I didn't hate this episode. In fact, I quite enjoyed it when I was watching it. But it's one of those that, even though I didn't hate it, it was hard for me to objectively ignore the big problems this episode has. I did like some of the pre-Days of Future Past Quicksilver moments with Fugit running around while the world is stopped. It was neat to see that from his perspective after we had already seen it from an outside perspective. perspective. And even though I like Clock King quite a bit, it was hard for me to give this episode passing marks with all that it does wrong. But those are my thoughts. What do you guys think? Like it, hate it? Let me know in the comments below. And if you like this video, I encourage you to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And if you did like this video, I do this sort of thing every week. Next week, I'll be talking about an episode of Batman Beyond. And the week after that, I'll be doing another episode of Batman the Animated Series. So be sure to check those out. And I also do other videos throughout the week, so check those out too, if you like. In the meantime, I'll see you guys in the future. Have a great rest of the day.